don't know if I intentionally come up with a theme for the year, like things that I'm like thinking about. And when we go to events, we meet with everybody, the kinds of things that I'm talking about. But I do have some things on my mind. And I think it's where I'm going to be hanging out this year. One of them is the Sabbath rest. And it's something that my wife and I have really, I don't want to really talk about this tonight, so I'm just going to try to condense it. It's something that we're very interested in and that we've seen the effects of in our life. And I think it has so many broad implications. So Sabbath rest is one of those things. The other thing is this whole idea of the Melchizedek priest, right? And I know a lot of people have talked about this, and it's never really been in my lane. So I've just kind of trusted what other people have said, which is never a bad thing. Like, I love the way that Nancy explains who Melchizedek is and why that anointing is valid. She's a great teaching on that. She's probably the one I've listened to the most about that and really received from it. But I've never really looked into it myself. Like, I've never thought about it much. I want to tell you, it sort of snapped into focus for me this week. You all know I love the Bible Project. I know that there's some other Bible Project people out there. Give me a big thumbs up because I can see your squares. You know the Bible Project, I'm hoping. It is an incredible resource. It's all over YouTube. My wife and I support them every month just because I think it's such a great teaching source out there. And their videos that they do on YouTube, they're just 5 or 6 minutes a piece, and they encapsulate like these primary core principles of the scriptures so well. I have so much in common with the way that they see things, kind of the big picture view of how they see the whole story that God's telling. But they did some videos recently, like in the last 6 months. I mean, it's not too recent, on Melchizedek, Moses and Aaron, David, and of course, Jesus as this high priestly king. And the whole series was about the royal priesthood. And of course, they start everything from the garden. They always take it all the way to Revelation. It's like they encompass everything. So if you haven't looked at that, I'm giving you homework, okay? Like, that's why you came tonight, for me to give you homework. I don't care, I'm doing it anyway. So you're gonna go to YouTube. And after you go to Discover the Heavens and you like and subscribe Discover the Heavens, because that helps me out, you're going to go to the Bible Project and you're going to subscribe to that. And I don't know, maybe you become one of their monthly supporters too, because it's worth supporting. And go watch their videos on the royal priesthood. And it'll go from like the garden through the fall. Then they'll have a separate video on Moses and Aaron, a separate one on David, and then one on, I think there's a Melchizedek. No, that was the one with Abraham. I can't remember. You'll watch them, you'll get it. And one of the things that it did for me is we were watching how they described a royal priesthood and about this function of opening up this door from this fallen mortal plane back into a place where heaven and earth are one. So you're going to watch the Bible Project, you're going to hear the same kind of language that you've been hearing from me about this beautiful notion of two things overlapping, the heaven circle and the earth circle, and where we're designed to be as humans when things are restored is in a place where they overlap, So you'll hear that language with the Bible Project as well. And so, they kind of show this function, this royal priestly function in this cosmic temple, although they may not use that word, about opening the door into this place where heaven and earth are one. And we were watching this actually as part of homeschool. We always do like a devotion in the morning, Monday through Friday. We all meet for a devotion in the morning before the kids start their homeschool. And on occasion, we switch it up, do a Bible Project video. And then we typically use the eyes of our heart and go spend some time in the heavens. It's a beautiful time. And we did this one on the royal priesthood. And we got done and I was like, all right, this just blows my mind. Like, what I'm about to do, and I'm telling this to my kids, like I said, what Dad is about to do when we get up from this, I'm about to go to my office. And before I sit down to write today, I am literally going to use the eyes of my heart to be in the heavens, where I will have an angelic conference, not unlike the divine councils that the Bible Project talks about having. And in so doing, I'm going to be this reflection of God, because God is having these divine council meetings. And I'm reflecting that here. I'm going to go do that. and we're going to have this sort of angelic conference or congress, if you will, and we're going to work through all these issues, and we're going to get help where we need it. And believe me, I've needed help with writing this book on liberating creation. I've needed a lot of help, and I can't do this stuff on my own. And so I go and I get those angels around, and I'm like, all right, who's helping? Because Christopher's out of words. Like, I don't even know how to attack this problem at this point. I don't know how to make this simple. I don't know how to explain this, and on and on and on, And eventually they get tired of me complaining and they agree to help. That's normally how that works. So we have this conference. So I'm telling my kids, I just said, listen, this is what's so amazing about this access that we've been given. I'm literally about to go do a royal priestly function right now. I'm going to go into this office. I'm going to cause heaven and earth to overlap. I'm going to have an angelic conference. I'm going to take all of this stuff that's going on, and I'm going to bring things from heaven to earth today into this book. Tomorrow, maybe something different. And we talked about that with our kids too, because as a family, we're sort of in this place right now where we're explaining to the kids and working on as a family our vision as a family. And I think it's important to have. I think it's good to have one for your personal life. I don't think it's a bad idea to have one as a family, so that as a family, everyone knows this is why we make the decisions we do. Now, our kids are totally aware the Carter house is not normal. Like, they know that. Like, no one has ever claimed that we're normal. And we tell the kids that all the time. Like, I know you're looking around and you're like, we do things really different. And I tell them, it's because I love you. It's because I love you. I'm just not gonna throw you out there to Western American civilization and feed you all of that, and then think that you're gonna have a rich, meaningful life. Even if it makes you feel a little weird, I want to give you foundations. I want to give you things that are true. I want to give you eternal purposes now, so that you do live a rich, full life, So we know we're strange, but having sort of a vision that, goes before the whole family that says, this is what we're really called to do. And part of our vision as a family is to reach for those next age ideas, one of which is to do that royal priestly job in creation itself. So even when we do our well-loved, but oftentimes pitiful garden in the backyard, which I don't own, so it's all in containers. I can't dig up the ground, so it's all in containers. And when we get out there and we do it, and the kids, you can tell the look on their face when they're out there like planting plants with us. Some days it's like, we love this. This is great. And other days it's like, I could have been playing with my friends right now. And instead I'm out here working in a garden that produces very little, no matter how hard we try. It could go on. You can imagine that in the mind of a teenager. It's like, the mosquitoes are biting, and it's Florida, so it's probably going to be hot. It's just the way it is. But we joke about it, and we put that vision in front of there to say, listen, what we're trying to do is get closer to natural things, so that we can do our royal priestly job wherever we are. We don't have to be perfect at it. It doesn't even have to go well. It's just our way of making an effort to do what we have a vision to do as a family. When we do our morning devotions, we're doing what we have vision to do as a family. We're wanting to practice all of that heavenly access, bringing that down here, practicing next age ideas. Anyway, all that to say, when we watched that Bible project on Melchizedek and the royal priesthood, and I was like, okay, I'm literally going to go do that job right now. It took our morning moment and set this beautiful pace for the whole day, because we really walked around the house and outside, and whether we were with our friends or doing our work, whatever we were doing, we were in this very restful place of, we are a royal priesthood. We are the ones that go in and out of that heavenly realm. We are the ones that are bringing those worlds together so that they overlap and produce this amazing fruit. Now, on that notion tonight, this is what I have planned. We're going to take our visit to heaven. It's what we do in Heaven Community. But I've been joking the last times we had our Heaven Community Zoom calls that it's kind of like Heaven Community Gym Hour as well, because I know a lot of people are busy. I'm not going to take a poll, because I'm not sure if I want to know the answer. how many of you have been doing this throughout the week. And how many of you are like, when was our last Heaven Community Zoom call? That may have been the last time. I don't want to know that. Just don't tell me if that's you, okay? But I'm aware that life is busy, and I know how hard this is to create patterns and habits that go against the flow of our modern world. So we do calls like this that we open up to everybody. As if to say, it's like we're going to go to the Heaven Gymnasium for an hour, and we're going to work these spiritual muscles, especially if you haven't been to the gym all week. This is like your guaranteed hour of power to do it in. So we're going to take our visit to the heavens. And as you know from earlier in the year, our overarching theme that I'm going to run for this entire year of Heaven Community Zoom calls, when we do them, when we're not in an actual class, the theme I'm going to take the whole time is, let this year be a year where you put some things to the test. Let this year be the kind of year where you see how heaven is connected to earth and how your involvement in the heavens causes actual changes to occur in your mortal sojourn. I really believe that, a lot of you, and I'm this way too, not was this way, I still am this way. I love the closeness with Jesus so much that I would go to the garden and walk around the garden with Jesus, using the eyes of my heart, using all my spiritual senses, smelling the flowers, hearing the birds, hearing his voice, how I imagine it, seeing him, how I imagine him. I would do that even if it didn't bear any like crazy fruit, supernatural fruit, or any kind of connection. I'd still be doing it because I just like the feeling of closeness. I just feel like, God gave us senses. I think he kind of expects a human being to use them. So to do what I joke with, with my kids, that what our prayer lives maybe were before, maybe it's like a long distance phone call. Like prayer was like, you pick up the phone, you dial long distance, and then he's not there. So you leave a voicemail and you're like, hey God, it's me again, Christopher. All right. So I know I'm leaving a voicemail. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a long one, Lord. There is a lot going on here. And then you talk for like 10, 15 minutes. You're like, okay, if you could do anything about those issues, that would really be great. Okay, I know it's about to be, gotta go by. And then like you hang up, versus taking yourself to that place, right? And just be there with the Lord interacting. Now, I'd still be doing it. Even if I never saw any kind of crazy testimony from it, just because of the closeness factor. But to trust it to actually move things in your mortal sojourn, you've got to have testimonies. And if you don't have them, you can only ride so long on listening to another person's testimony about how something happened. You have to have them for yourself. And at the beginning of the year in January, when we were about to do our very first Heaven Community Zoom call for the year, I think it was the end of January. And I just remember being up here in the school, we used to be my office, it got taken over by homeschool, and the now homeschool room. And I still have my green screen up. That's the only thing that stayed from the office. And I just was like, Lord, I really want people to trust this as much as I trust it, or more. I mean, more would be great too, but at least as much as I've come to trust it. And I felt like the Lord said, then they've got to have their own testimonies. And I kid you not, I felt like Jesus was in this room with me. And he said, you need to tell them to put me to the test. And I said, deal, let's do it. Let's pick some things that we want to pursue for the whole year. And if you've been on one of our Zoom calls since January, since the first of the year when we started, then we've been hitting that. I wanted you to pick like 2 or 3 things, whether they're issues in your life, things that you want to see change, things that you need an answer about. I really encouraged you, and I still will, try to be reasonable. Let's not go full charismatic Christian and be like, I picked world peace. I'd be like, well, that depends on the will of 7 billion other people. So maybe don't pick that, I wanted to solve hunger in Africa. All right, let's dial it down. Super Christian. Let's bring it in. Let's pick a couple things. Maybe we do world hunger, but let's pick a few other smaller ones as well, And maybe, pick a variety, pick some things that are smaller, pick some things that are bigger. I think a lot of people have things in their life that, that you're growing in, and you just really want to see some progress with it. Maybe you're tired of the way that you worry. This guy. Maybe you're tired of, like, again, maybe you're just like, I'm not even sure like where my faith is half the time. Maybe there's just things where you're trying to grow, but you need a breakthrough. Maybe that's a good one to pick. Or maybe there's just something that you've been waiting on, like to move, or a decision, or maybe it's just something totally super positive that you're just like, what? I've been seeing a lot of this. I just want to see more, Now I had my 2 or 3 things, and I've been pursuing them. And I'm going to remind you when we go to heaven in like 3 minutes here for the next half hour, that keep pursuing these things. And we're going to approach it a certain way tonight. But I don't want you to forget about that. You should have 2 or 3 things this year. And as we get towards the end of the year, I'm going to start asking you, what's the testimony? How did it change? How did it move? What happened? How did you see your involvement in the heavens actually come and affect this mortal sojourn? How was it testable? How was the fruit good? I'm sure there's going to be some stories where, I was hitting this problem, but I kind of missed it. And maybe I messed it up a little bit, or maybe I heard wrong. I know you're not going to get everything right. We all know that. I'm looking for the testimonies where you did. I'm looking for the faith building moments when you're like, how about that? I heard that correctly. And I experienced that up there. And then I watched that come down here into my mortal life. So we're going to tackle that this year and continually as we do this tonight. So when we go tonight, we're going to work this muscle that I spoke about just a minute ago. We're going to work the royal, priestly, angelic, divine counsel muscle. So we're at the gym. We're going to pick what we're going to do. Let's call it the core strength exercises tonight. We're going to work our core. So I'm going to take you someplace. Now, I know there's probably a more comfortable place for you to be than where I'm going to take you. And for some of you, you'd be like, no, this is great. I'm in. I don't know if Donna Perry is on our call tonight, but if Donna's on, she's going to love what we're going to do, because Donna, this is like her home, like it is mine doing this.
I'm here.
You're here, Donna? Well, Donna, we're going to take a boat ride tonight. So that's right up your alley. And for the rest of you, it's like, no, I'd rather be in my home in heaven. Well, the tour guide's taking you on a tour. That's my job. I'm going to put you in an environment that if you haven't been in or haven't been in lately, you're going to do it tonight. When we're there, we're going to set up that divine counsel. So we're going to get you there with the Lord. I'm going to have you invite in the angels that you know best. If you're like, Christopher, I don't know any angels best. No problem. No problem. It can just be you and the Godhead. Or it might be an angel that you've never met. Or for all I know, the 24 elders that surround the throne could join you. It doesn't matter. You're just going to do it. You're going to invite in that sense of counsel. And then when we're there, we are going to bring up these issues that hopefully you've been tracking with since January. And if you haven't, well, you've got about 30 seconds to come up with 2 or 3 that you want to tackle for this year. Things that you want to see a testimony of how heaven works. Okay, you ready? Ladies, get out your journals. Men, just, pretend that your mind is a steel trap. We know you're not going to write stuff down anyway. I see you laughing, Jason. I know some of you have a journal. I'm just messing with you. Jason, you got one. Of course you do. I bet the guys on these calls are like, I'm bringing a journal. But for the most part, people are like, you do a conference and I'm like, all right, we get out something to write on. And all the women have journals and 5 billion pens. And the guys are like, I'm good. I can remember it, All right. So, the drill too. Your mics are off and I won't let you unmute them. I mean, you could have up till now. Don't tell anybody that, but I didn't have it toggled off. Now you are not allowed to unmute yourselves. Oh, for shame. So you can put on some music. And, I've given you suggestions. I'm really digging relaxmoods.com. I'm using it just about every day. You can open up a new window from, like on your web browser, whatever you're using for Zoom. go to relaxmoods.com. There's different albums you can choose from. I like the one called Dark. It's not evil, it's just like the night sky. I like Dark. And if you go one song down, so I think it's called Grand Snow, or 2 or 3 songs down to, what's it called? Traveling Alone or something like that, or Lonely Traveler or something. That's a good place to start on that album's playlist. Really good music to use when you're working things out in the heavens. That's just a personal preference. You do what you want. You want to put on some John Carter, some Laura C., some Alberto and Kimberly Rivera, whatever works for you, you do it. So give you a minute to get some music on. You know, do it on your phone, do it on your computer, whatever works. I'm glad you've missed these boat rides, David. Donna, you said you don't have one. I'm assuming you don't have a journal. I'm guessing that's what you wrote that about. Donna, you said I am putting him to the test and he's answering. I'm really glad to hear that. Again, we're going to, throughout this year, just want to give you some time to work these issues from the heavenly places down, but I'm going to want to hear some testimonies. So we'll keep that in mind as we go along this year. Yes. Yeah, we do just want to be with him, David. Yep. All right, here we go. I want you to imagine you are somewhere on the deck of a sailing ship. I am not going to describe my ship to you in detail. It's pretty far out. One day I'll draw a picture and show it to you, but there are masts and sails involved. It does have a very long and wide deck with lots of room on that deck that you could be on. And I would say this ship is sailing through the clouds more often than it's sailing through the water. It doesn't matter to me where you see it, okay? Doesn't matter how you see it tonight. Your imagination is going to give you the best facsimile of my ship in the heavens that it can. And that's okay. We're not going to worry about that part. Let your imagination tell you what a heavenly sailing ship would look like with my ship. Just, if you see multiple masts, that's okay, but mine definitely has one going up. And if it's in the sky sailing through the clouds, there's a mast below it as well. But beautiful white sails and that beautiful deck. And the ship really isn't a bunch of wood hammered together. It looks like it's something more grown out of some crystalline-like material. But I want you to put yourself somewhere on that deck. And I'm going to start asking you some questions just so you let yourself be there. Remember, setting and context matters. If we want to allow ourselves to be in a heavenly place, we need to be aware of our surroundings. And this is where I've been for the last 2 days, is on my ship. So you're welcome to be here with me. Now, first thing, where are you on the ship? And you can start putting it in the chat box. You could say, I'm at the front or the back, or you could be really impressive and you could use nautical terms. I'm at the bow or the stern, something like that. We'd all be like, whatever. I'm on the port side. I'm on the whatever the non-port side is. Port and starboard. That's the one. So and I don't know which one's right or left, but I think port's right. Anyway, you could just tell me where you are. Tell me where you are on the ship. And I want you to tell me, do you think it's sailing in the water? Or do you think it's sailing like in the sky? And then lastly, I want you to tell me, is it night or day? And these are your first impressions. Your imagination is just starting to build the picture of you being on this ship in the heavens tonight. And again, whether I get through all of them and read your responses is not the point. You putting your responses in is like you talking out loud. So that's why I want you to write tonight. Get it out. Put it in the chat box. Even if I never read it, do it so that you can express what you're experiencing in the heavens. Oh, thank you, Randy. Port is left, starboard is right, and Randy would know. He's our resident ship builder here. I just fake it really good in the heavens, but Randy actually does. John, you're sailing in the clouds and it's daytime. Mary, it's in the water. Randy corrected our terminology. Maybe he'll tell us where he's at a little later here. Jason, in the sky above the waters during the day. Jennifer, you're by the boom in the sky at dusk. David, standing in the crow's nest. That's David B. Standing in the crow's nest, sailing in the night sky. I know it's a beautiful scene, isn't it? Nighttime for me, by the way, and I'm on the kind of in the middle of the deck there. Oh, that's where you are, Donna. Center deck. It's dark, sailing through the cosmos. Yeah. Caleb, you said the clouds are like the waters and the ship cuts through them. It does. And isn't that a neat feeling? I love that. Yep. Durette, you're between the front and the mast, and it's nighttime with a starry sky. We're in the sky. Stanley, behind the helm, sailing through the Mazarov. Yeah, nice move there. There you go. See any more in here? Miriam, standing on the side looking at the clouds below. Yeah, definitely in the sky then. Yeah, very good. Now, as you're doing this, Caroline, you're near the front looking ahead, slightly to the left, holding the rail. It's daytime and it's in the air. Susan, ship's on the water in the daylight. The ship has a pearl essence to it. Indeed, it does, Susan. It's that weird crystalline material that it's made of, that it does seem kind of pearl-esque at times. Yeah, Mary, it's nighttime for you. Cindy, in the front, and it's on the water at night. And Alicia Denning at the helm. Oh, there you are. Hi there, Alicia. At the helm by the person steering on the water, and it's day. Very good. Gwen, just went right past it. I'm at the top of the topsail in the crow's nest, sailing in the sky, and it's night. You're doing great, everybody. Doing great. Someone said cumulus clouds in here, so I have to read this. That's Sarah. I'm standing on the left side of the front deck near the rail, close to the front tip of the rail. It's sailing in the sky. You see white, fluffy cumulus clouds, the big puffy ones, floating underneath, right, and to the sides as we move through them, and it's daytime for you. Yeah, great. And Randy, you're sailing on the top of a thunderstorm, going really fast. Woo, Cindy, you see angels flying all around. Great. Now that you know where you are, let's run through your senses. What do you smell? What do you hear? What can you touch? What do you smell? What do you hear? And what can you touch? And we work through these senses because we're going to allow as much as our conscious self as possible to be in this place. So allowing sensory input to come in, let's more of that environment come into your mortal experience here, or kind of vice versa. You're sort of taking yourself up. And whether it's a sound or a touch sensation or a smell, whichever one stands out to you the most, go ahead and put it in. Put it in the chat box. You don't have to give me all of them. Just give me the ones that stand out. I'm going to do it with you now too. So what I see in here, I wonder if anyone else sees this, is I'm kind of standing on like an upper deck where the helm is. You sort of walk down some stairs to the main deck, and on the main deck there are very much like Narnia creatures and other people, and they're playing like flutes and harps, and there's music and dancing down on the main deck. And I was standing on the top deck sort of looking down and listening to the music. The music was sort of the first thing that I heard, but it feels very celebrative on the ship tonight. Doesn't have to you. Just telling you where I'm at. Betty, you smell the salty air and feel the water spray. That's good. Donnie, you heard the sails whipping in the wind. Good. Gwen, smell fresh, crisp air. Amy, you hear the water crashing against the ship. Teresa, you felt the coolness of the deck railing. Yeah, Barbara, the sound of the wind in the sails. It's an unmistakable sound, isn't it? Alyssa, hey, welcome. So glad you're here tonight, Alyssa. You said the air smells slightly sweet and cold. You hear gentle waves and the wind in the sails, and you see the reflection of the sky on the ocean, and it's like you're sailing through the sky. Jennifer, you getting some Narnia creatures? Wonderful. Pam, you said the smell of the salty ocean. You said there's such peace in the breeze, and the stars are accompanying the ride. That's a hard word to say. You smelled like sulfur and other elements, and you heard frequencies like songs coming from the stars, and you felt the railing. It was cool but not cold. Love it. Very good. John, fun adventure. You said the boat flips upside down and you're in the stars as you grasp the weathered wood of the mast and you hear an angel humming. That should be a fun experience. Good. Again, if I don't read them, it's okay. Point is for you to express it. Now you know what to do. Lord, where are you in this picture? That's always our step. Lord, where are you? Mumble it to yourself. Say it out loud. Lord, where are you in this picture? And give it your very first impression. Where is the Lord in this picture? And as soon as you see whatever part of the Godhead your imagination is showing you, be close. My first impression tonight was Holy Spirit, who I always see as a mother. And I felt like I saw that Holy Spirit mother standing on the deck of the ship, almost like the center of the party down there. It was a really pretty picture. I must not be alone. Piper, here's the flute music on the top deck. No pun intended there, Piper. You smell the smoke and mist. There's a nice breeze. Very good. A lot of you, Jesus is at the wheel. Don't start singing me that song, though. Yeah, Denise, you said the Lord is in the clouds walking towards me. Really cool scene there. Susie, you said, where's the stern? He's there. The bow's the front, the stern's the back. He's there in the stern. Alyssa, you see him next to you on your right, the rail looking out with you. Now, what I want you to do, again, keep putting stuff in the chat box. It's about you getting to express it. You're there with him. I just want you to take a minute and give him your time. And you can just say it. You can just say, Lord, I'm here with you on this ship. And then you just watch him. What's he saying? What's he doing? Whatever those first impressions are of whatever he's saying or doing, feel free to put that in the chat box. But just give him your time. And you can even say that, Lord, I'm giving you my time right now. How are you? What are you up to, Lord? What's on your heart? However you want to do it. Just give him your time and just watch and tell yourself your first impressions of anything that he says or does. Let's just take this minute and be with him. I'm going to turn my mic off and do this on my own as well. You all use this chat box as soon as you start getting stuff. I know some of y'all are writers, some of you are talkers. Whichever one you are, just keep doing both. Talk to yourself, narrate to yourself what's happening. If you keep it all inside, it's so easy to lose the thread of what's happening. So just let your imagination do all the work. Give yourself a big time, just, permission to let your imagination tell you the story tonight of being on this ship in the heavens. And talk to yourself. Everything that you sense, everything that you see, if something moves, tell yourself that you saw it move, and let your imagination narrate to you this story. Don't worry about it if you're getting it right tonight. It's okay. The stakes are low. You're fine. So just trust those first impressions. Let's go a few more minutes. You just taking some time with Jesus before we do anything else. Y'all are doing fantastic. I'm reading through your comments as you're doing this. For me, what was happening was I was seeing the Holy Spirit as this beautiful mother figure down there on the deck. And she was just, inviting me to come down. And we were dancing. And I was just like, I don't think I've ever done this with you. And just like a mother, she was like, well, I'm the one that taught you how to dance. That's my job, is to instruct you in this sort of thing. And I was like, I have no memory of that. That's never happened when we've been up here. And then we just started talking about just the depth of how much more that the Holy Spirit wants me to know Holy Spirit, and how much depth there is to know that I've just not in any way uncovered or got into yet in my life. And it was really just interesting, to look forward to that. Anyway, that was what was going on with me. A lot of you are hanging out with Jesus, and it sounds beautiful. A few of you, like Donna and Alyssa, are either flying through the clouds or, like Alyssa, you and Jesus just, dove over the side of the boat altogether. So for those of you that are on the boat and hanging out, great. For Alyssa and Donna, just stay focused on him. And you can even ask him point blank, what are you doing, Lord? Why are we flying through the sky? Or why are we jumping off the boat? And trust that first impression. I'd love to hear how these stories play out. Now, as you're getting that stuff worked out here, I'm going through a few comments here. What I want you to do is ask. You can do this through Jesus. You can ask him to do it, or you can do it yourself. We're going to work this muscle tonight. I want you to invite in the angels that you know best. And just say, either if you know them, call them by name. If you don't, ask Jesus to do it. So if you don't know them or you're uncomfortable, just be like, Jesus, bring in the ones that are ready to have a divine counsel like you have. a divine counsel. So you're just going to take a moment, call them in, let the eyes of your heart show you that picture, tell yourself what it looks like when they come in, who's arriving, what do they look like, what's Jesus doing, what are you doing? Let your imagination tell you that story. We're going to get you in a little counsel moment here. And my first impression is being kind of in the middle of the deck there with Mother Holy Spirit, and really more or less her calling in some of the angels that I know are close to me, and seeing them sort of appear on the ship and walk towards us in a loose circle. That's what I'm seeing. You can tell me what you're seeing in the chat box here. Yeah, I forgot about John's too. John, your ship turns upside down, so you're kind of in that same boat, no pun intended, with Alyssa and Donna, with things just kind of going a little haywire there. So I'm glad you're saying here, Holy Spirit came down the mast, drew me close to the Father, and then Jesus in a group hug. Very good. Again, wherever you are in that process, you can just ask the Lord to settle you someplace. Lord, bring me to a spot, if you're not there already, where we can invite in the angels that are close to me. And you're here too, Lord. We're going to have one of these heavenly council moments. Just giving you a minute to set that up. Well, that's fun, Alyssa. I was wondering where that was going for you. Slavana and Arya, two angels, I'm guessing, joined us dancing through the stars. Fun times. Very, very good. It's going to be a fun conference. Be a conference on the move, really. And Cindy, dancing on the cloud with Jesus. I was dancing with Holy Spirit. Maybe we're listening to the wrong music tonight, y'all. Maybe we should get a good rhythm going. Direct could probably lead us in something if it's all dancing in the heavens this evening. Just kidding, y'all. If you can't have fun, you're doing this wrong. Oh, good. Susan, the angels appeared one by one with a little poof of smoke. That's how I read it. Poof. There's rainbow colors shimmering off all of us, and you're in the cosmos, but we're in light on the ship. Very good. Now, what I want you to do when you've got that group gathered around, guys, you're going to pick one of these issues that you're working on this year. You're going to pick one of these things that you really want to see and have a testimony in your own life that you can trust the eyes of your heart and how heaven is connected to earth. You're going to pick one of these things and you're going to bring it up in this council tonight. And you're just going to throw it out there. You're going to say a couple sentences. Hey, this is one of these things that I've been focused on. And tonight or day, wherever you are in the world, I want us to work this. What do you have to say about it, angels? Or is there anything we can do tonight to affect this situation? Or you just give it to Jesus, because again, the chaperone being there is a good idea, some part of the Godhead, and you just go, okay, we're all here for this council. Here's the issue I want to work on, and then just watch to see what Jesus does. However you want to work it, give it your first impression. Don't overthink it. Don't worry tonight about, oh my goodness, the pressure's on. We're talking about world hunger now. Got to get this right. Don't do that to yourself. Treat it with the same spirit of adventure that you've been using this whole time. You can test the fruit later. You're going to get stuff wrong anyway. So don't lock this down. When we're done, if there's anything that doesn't match God's character, or if you find out later it's not right, we can discard it and we can move on. So just keep it light, keep the pressure off, bring up that issue and just go, all right, what do we have to say or do about this issue while we're up here on the ship or in the stars tonight? Now I'm going to encourage you for this part. Don't write in the chat box. Take this time for yourself personally. I'm going to mute my mic. I'm going to give it at least 4 or 5 minutes. Just enjoy your moment with your music. Don't feel like you have to put something in the chat box. Take this time with this divine counsel. So, y'all, I'm really enjoying this, but I'm just coming in just as an encouragement moment here. Keep talking to yourself. I'm telling you, keep it in. It's hard to keep the thread. If you're watching me, even muted, you're going to see my lips moving. Talk to yourself. Narrate the story to yourself out loud, and just to kind of keep going. I'm going to keep going too. I'll be back. Okay, now, in just a moment, if you're at a stopping point, great. If you're not, just hit your pause button. And then, like, when we're done tonight, you can go right back and finish, okay? So you don't have to cut this short. Now, hopefully what's sort of taking place in that time is, in this divine council, you're bringing up an issue, and then you're watching sort of heaven's response to you bringing that issue up. You're seeing what the angels are doing to directly affect that issue. You're seeing God's response to that, whether it's the Holy Spirit in my case tonight, or you're hanging out with Jesus, whichever one, and you're responding to, are they responding to the issue, and you're seeing what they're saying, what they're doing about it. And you're just kind of taking all that in. Now, hopefully what you're doing too is that you're just kind of letting it go. You're letting your imagination senses do all the work. And then when you bring it to a close, then you can kind of go back and test it. Like if, for instance, you hit a point where the Lord's like, yeah, I'm not helping you with that problem. Well, that's not the Lord. You can test and approve that and discard it. Okay, that was a little crazy. What do you really think about this, Jesus? Because I know that's not you, that sort of thing. So you can test afterwards, make sure everything lines up with God's character and plans and purposes. But in the meantime, you just get to see what the response is. I had a really interesting encounter there, which I'm not going to share, not because it's secret, but I would like to hear actually just from like a couple of you. And I know that that's difficult with 90 plus people on tonight, but can I just get like 2 volunteers? And before you throw your hands up, let me get it to where I can look at the grid. If you don't want your square immortalized on YouTube in a YouTube video, this would be a great time to cut your video out. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the grid so I might see your faces. And maybe, again, just a couple volunteers would be great. If you want to tell us just sort of what happened, and maybe give us the condensed highlights version, because it's 9:07 already. I was enjoying that too much, and we went a little bit longer than I thought we would. Durette, I see your hand. Can I get one more volunteer? I got another hand up somewhere. I'm looking at the grid. I don't see all of them at once. I'm going through them. Oh, there's a hand. Is that where's that hand up? Oh, there it is. Marcia. Is that you? Okay, good. All right, you want to go first, and then we'll let Durette go after you. How's that? Oh, I gotta let you unmute yourself. Oh, that's funny. Let me find my button to do that. Here we go. Allow participants to unmute themselves because we trust them. There we go. Okay, now you can unmute yourself. Go for it. Give us the highlights of what happened there, and then we'll go to Durette after that.
Okay, I couldn't write in the chat because of dexterity, but then I got whacked, so I really couldn't write. But the gist of it is, I was on the port side in the front, sitting under the rail on the bench, and Yeshua was across from me. And all I kept hearing was, can't take my eyes off of you. You're too good to be true. And then we got up and we were dancing. And then 5 angels surrounded us doing the hora, the Israeli dance.
Yeah.
And then we ended up in the conference room. And I asked them how to implement my book of destiny.
Good call.
And they said that and I took the 3 top highlights of what's in that book, and they said that they were going to open gates and doors for me, and I wouldn't have to do anything until they did that. So that brought me a lot of relief, because my desire to fulfill that is to please him.
Oh, of course. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
No, thank you for sharing that. That was good for us to hear. Thank you. And Durette, you want to jump in now?
Sure. Thank you so much, Marcia. That just really encourages me. So blesses me to hear your story. I had given the Lord a list of changes, more than 3, I'll be honest. And so I just said, Lord, you tell me which ones you want to deal with tonight. And he said, I want to deal with your stress levels related to work and responsibilities, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then so he called the angels that I have interacted with in the past, and Raphael, Hyalia, Gabriel, and 3 of the trees that I interact with. And he took the trees and me and the angels up into the crow's nest, which was totally taking me into a place where I would feel the stress.
Yeah.
It's like crow's nest, high up. And I was like, okay, this makes it worse. Right. But what he did is he took me in his arms. He said, you're safe in me. Do not even think about where you are, just be in me. And then the angels came around us, and what I was totally not expecting, but I should have expected knowing your teaching, is that each one of them came to pour into me. And so they came to bless me with the gifts that they had and that I needed to be able to deal with the stress. And so, for instance, Raphael said, come and enjoy creation. You need to spend time in creation in order to de-stress and to know again how things work. And Hyalia said, you need to go deeper inside of yourself because there's gifts in you that you haven't used. And so Hyalia for me is the angel related to the underworld who has all the gifts.
Yeah, right. The treasures in darkness.
Precisely. And she said the treasures are there. Yeah. But she was helping me to open that up and to receive that. And Gabriel said, you need to hear Father's voice more clearly. And so he's like, and you need to know the fear of the Lord, because that is the first remedy against stress. Yeah. And I was like, wow. So one after the other, they just started pouring in, and it's like, whoa. That's all I can say.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Dorette. Wonderful times, everyone. This is good. It's a good hour at the gym. We worked a muscle, worked that divine counsel muscle, which I would encourage you to keep working. We'll just bring it to a close tonight. Soon, like in the next month or so, I suspect, maybe the end of April, we'll see. I am going to do like a formal class, like we tend to do 2 or 3 of those a year. And I think it's probably late in the year to start one for me. I think we've normally already done one by now, but I've had so much fun doing these Heaven community calls and the office hour calls that I've been fine, like just doing that. But we are going to get a class going later in the month, and just kind of be on the lookout for that. Again, it will be a literature-based class. I'm not going to make you buy a bunch of books. Some of them you may want to buy. But all of your ideas that y'all have been giving me about a book list or about going through some of these books together, I thought, let's just turn it into an adult education, heaven-based literature course, and have a lot of fun with that. And anyway, so be on the lookout for it in the next month or so. I should be getting that together, and we'll find a start time for it. And I hope to see as many of you there for that as can be there. Otherwise, I love you tonight. Thank you so much. We have the most amazing group of monthly supporters that honestly help us keep the lights on and do everything else. If anyone's ever looking for a way to bless what we're doing here, you can go to discovertheheavens.org. There's a little donate button there, and you can help out if you ever want to support what we're doing. All of our monthly supporters, we give access to all of our classes that we do, both past, present, and future. So I know there's plenty of monthly supporters that jump on for that just because they want access to all the classes, and I'm perfectly fine with it. So if you want to do it for access to all the online stuff we do, great. Go set up a monthly donation on PayPal. If you just want to do it because you like what we do and you want to support what we do, I'll take that too. It's all a blessing. So thank you for all of y'all that do that. And again, if you're thinking about being a part of this class coming up, and you're not one of those monthly supporters, maybe think about it for that reason. And if you are a monthly supporter, you're going to get in that class already because of what you're doing every month, which we really, really appreciate. So that's what's coming up. Love to you all. What a great Thursday night. Keep going. Don't wait a week before you go back to heaven. I know it's hard. I know you're busy. Stop what you're doing. Make time for the eternal things. We're going to have some amazing stories to tell by the end of this year. Okay. Love you guys. Have a great, great night. And y'all are welcome. I'm seeing it in the chat. And yes, y'all have a great night. We'll see you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.